From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your MTN statewide news this Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, the state reporting 2 more deaths today. The latest at a Billings long-term care facility, now bringing the total there to 10 and moves the count to 37 deaths across the state. A woman in her 90s passed away at Canyon Creek Memory Care yesterday. Her death marks the 15th in Yellowstone County. Well, the second death reported by the state today, we told you about yesterday, a Lewis and Clark resident who died earlier this week. That individual was Lewis and Clark County's first resident to die of COVID-related illness. Now, today, the state confirmed 137 new positive cases. There are just over 1,100 active cases and 45 people are hospitalized. In Wyoming, the number of deaths climbed to 24 yesterday. A Fremont County man died in the hospital while battling COVID-19. He had pre-existing conditions, making him more vulnerable to the virus. Overall, Wyoming has 379 active cases. Meanwhile, in Bozeman, dozens of protesters demonstrated in front of the Gallatin County Courthouse yesterday. They say the mask mandate from the governor violates their rights.
Our opinions weren't taken into account. We very much voiced against it, and it was just openly dismissed. There wasn't even really a talk about it. And I feel like that was very unjust. It's to serve the people, not to dictate them.
We're here because we don't want to be told what to do when it comes to masks. I think everybody has a right to wear it or not, but we're here just peacefully and we're just expressing that.
Even though wearing a mask is now required inside public places, Billings police say they'll rely on education over citations. Chief Rich St. John says the department will get involved with enforcement if an unmasked person refuses to leave a business. If that's the case, they could be arrested for trespassing. St. John says Billings residents have been cooperative during the pandemic, and he doesn't expect that to change. Well, the Crow Tribe has extended its stay-at-home order through August 31st. In announcing the executive order, Tribal Chairman A.J. Notafrade also says the annual Crow Fair will be canceled. The fair was scheduled to run August 14th through the 17th. Notafrade says the actions were taken to protect public health and human safety. And the Blackfeet Nation has received more than $2 million in funding to help with housing for its tribe and COVID-19 relief. It's all part of the Paycheck Protection Program, that loan that helps businesses keep their workforce employed. Now, the tribe tells us it is looking into housing for the homeless on the reservation and is trying to come up with solutions to help with the demand for housing. Well, it's time now on this Friday to check in on the weather scene with Ed McIntosh. And Ed, it's a hot one out there.
That's right, and all that heat's going to lead to more problems as the day continues to develop. Janelle, let's go ahead and take a look and see what's happening over into the Dakotas. An excellent chance we'll see strong to severe storms. In fact, we've already seen some severe storm warnings start to pop up, but anything from large hail, gusty winds, tornadoes possible there into central Montana. It's more likely that wind around thunderstorms will be a bigger concern. Things are very dry, and with the hot temperatures, low humidity, and that wind, it will increase fire risk. In fact, to the point where we have fire weather warnings into effect for southwest Montana, portions of Wyoming, then that severe thunderstorm watch into the Dakotas. We'll break down and look at those temperatures and what to expect for the weekend coming up.
All right, thanks, Ed. Well, a traveling documentarian made a stop in Missoula this week as part of his new project depicting American life amid the pandemic. MTN's Megan Mannering brings us the story on Project Tumbleweed.
As most of the country shies away from travel right now, one man is doing quite the opposite.
So I am traveling across the country, interviewing people from different walks of life in different states.
Scott Henderson began his journey from Indiana a little over 2 weeks ago. With ample free time this summer, he wanted to take his passion for media, combine it with his curiosity for COVID-19, and create a real-time documentary that explores American life amid a pandemic.
And I'm doing it because I want to learn how do leaders overcome great disruptions, and leaders from business, people who are running nonprofits, artists, individuals who have, who are just ensconced in their day-to-day life, and really understand the psyche of what it takes to come through major disruption.
Following the Transcontinental Railroad and the Oregon Trail, Henderson recently made it to the West Coast. As he slowly ventures back eastward, he'll travel by the Lewis and Clark Trail, hence the pit stop in Missoula, Montana. And the route Henderson's chosen to travel is no coincidence.
I wanted to invoke the fact that we are not the first to see great disruptions, right? And I think that there's lessons we can draw from the past, and then we can actually give lessons to the future generations who have to overcome whatever great disruption they're going to face.
Along the way, Henderson is interviewing people in 20 different states. He's also sampling surveys of masks, seeing who is and isn't wearing them. Henderson's travels and interviews will make for a 6-part documentary.
And as far as what he's seen and learned throughout his journey, well, perhaps it's a little more uplifting than what you'd imagine finding during a pandemic.
It's encouraging to know that the major theme is people have hope that we will get through this. Right? This is a solvable crisis, and we can survive and thrive again.
In Missoula, Megan Mannering, MTN News.
Thanks, Megan. Well, Henderson's trip will end when he reunites with his son in Atlanta. You can follow his trip and watch the stories of his documentary unfold at projecttumbleweed.com. Well, coronavirus has prompted many camps to cancel in-person events this summer, but that hasn't stopped some from still serving children. Camp Francis is a bereavement camp for kids aged 6 to 12 who have lost someone significant to them. The in-person camp was canceled back in June, but organizers are keeping kids connected and providing resources through care packages. Those packages include bananas, bells, bubbles, a bracelet, and a hand-stitched bird to go along with the theme, Wings of Hope.
Francis is not just a place that meets in the mountains during the month of June, but it's a place that lives in our hearts. And this year, that certainly rang true more than anything else. So it was a good way for everyone to feel connected, to be reminded of those lessons and those tools that we have.
Now, Camp Francis has sent out around 45 packages. Well, animal shelters and food banks across Montana will get a fresh supply of pet food to help during this pandemic. About 25,000 pounds of dog and cat food was delivered to Summit Beverage in Butte to be stored until volunteers can distribute the food across the state. Well, the Humane Society of Western Montana received a grant for that food to help families with pets.
You know, people are having a hard time with rent and mortgages, and we don't want people to have to surrender their pets or even to have stress around food insecurity for their four-legged family members.
And Summit Beverage offered free storage of the pet food, and volunteers will begin distribution next week. Well, a bill introduced by Montana Congressman Greg Gianforte has officially become a law. It means mental health resources will now just be a phone call away. The FCC assigned the numbers 988 as the national 3-digit phone number for the Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Hotline. That's 988. Now, it will be up and running within the next 2 years. Well, there is new trouble today for the Washington Redskins. 15 former female employees are making allegations of sexual harassment spanning over more than a decade. 3 of the employees accused in the report were either fired or suddenly resigned this week. The team released a statement saying it would address the allegations promptly. Up next on your MTN Noon News, here's something that's sure to tickle the ivories. Find out how a mystery musician received a gift of a lifetime. But first, Ed McIntosh is in with your statewide weather forecast.